Got my orange in a mug. Got the papers. Well, that was a shit show. This is the morning after the game before. Now this is a late morning after the game before. As I said, I put my orange in a mug today, and the mug's quite fitting because it's something I got from Kit Kat. It's called a Joda mug, and that's what I feel like after travelling to Liverpool yesterday. I feel like I nicked the mug, because that is one of the worst, most gutless performances I've seen from a West Ham side for a long time. We wasn't at the races, and I was a little bit harsh on Everton yesterday. I didn't say it publicly, but off camera I said that we were worse than a poor Everton side. Now I think that's a bit harsh on Everton, to be quite honest with you, because when I watched the game back, when I saw what was happening, they were decent. Everton, they were decent. They was playing for the manager. They was playing for passion, playing for desire, and making sure their manager didn't get the sack. They've had 4 defeats in a row. They sat 17th in the table, 1 place off the relegation before yesterday. They now sit on 11 points. That's 1 point behind us, and we've got some very tough games going on. What started off as a great start has now transformed itself into a mediocre start. And if you look at clubs like Everton, who are creeping up the table at us, we had chances for the last few weeks to get away from them and put some distance between ourselves, and we didn't. I'm not saying Everton were brilliant. They weren't unbeatable. They weren't, there were chances both ends, very rarely for us, but the little few bits and pieces that we did create, we give them a little bit of trouble, but on reflection, they could have scored 5 or 6. And I'm one that slated Roberto for the opening goal yesterday. Look, at the end of the day, after I've watched the highlights back, Roberto kept us in it at times. He made a great save at 0-0, and another couple of great saves after that. Is he the best keeper in the world? No, but that's the hand we've been dealt with at the moment, and I don't think the goalkeeper should be taking the blame. When I look at the first goal again back, I mean, Bernard's a good player. Look, anyone can get twisted and turned, but he got away from him too easy. Everyone thought he was going to take the shot the first. And he switched back in, switched back out, switched back in again, leaving our players for dead. And in the end, he just slipped it past the near post. Roberto, in reflection, should have dove on the ball rather than trying to. I think he was anticipating that Bernardo was going to try and chip him, but he didn't. He just went straight on the floor. First goal. But it's the performances are worrying me. The lack of chances that we're creating are worrying me. Haller looks very frustrated, and Ryan made a great point to me yesterday. He's going to be looking at his agent thinking to himself, "Fucking get me out of this fucking place," because they're not playing to his strengths. And I think that's where Pellegrini goes wrong. We're keeping the same formation, playing the same way. It works some weeks, it don't work other weeks. We're not adapting our game to who we're playing. We're playing the same players, whether we're forced to or not. And in reflection, a great squad at the beginning of the season starts to be looking a little bit thin now. I want to see Jack Wilshere starting. Jack Wilshere, although the fruits of his labour haven't come off in the last few weeks, when he comes on, he gives a little bit more energy. Fornals, for me, I was looking so forward to Fornals. Now, the Premier League is a hard place to get your hands into. But if you don't start well, then you've got to be looking at extended time on the bench. Yarmolenko has been on fire for us, goal scoring. He scored in a week. I understand that it's an injury, but we've got to start our best player. We can't be leaving our best players out, because Ukraine have started him twice in a row. Do you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, ask him how he feels. If he feels okay up to it, then start him again. We're suffering. Fornals was poor. I've got to address Felipe Anderson. Felipe Anderson, for me, yesterday looked lost. We couldn't, as a team, we couldn't pass the ball 5 yards. But he in particular, to me, when I was watching it yesterday, I don't know whether I'm just biased because, I've noticed over the last few weeks that Felipe's had bad games. He didn't look like he knew what he was doing. He looked lost out there on his own. He's not getting up and around the goal-scoring areas. He's not getting up and around Alea. His passing was way off. He was giving the ball away every time. Sloppy passing that let them attack and attack and attack. And as I said yesterday, when I look at it back, they won 2-0. In reflection, they could have won 6-0. We was that bad at times. But it's a gutless performance. And the thing that worries me about West Ham at the moment is we haven't got any backbone. We haven't got any steel. We haven't got that one player that wants to be counted when the chips are down. Noble to an extent, but he's getting on there. He can't do that sort of thing week in, week out. Rice looks isolated. We played like a 4-1-4-1 formation, and he looked over running the midfield. They've got some good midfielders, Everton. They're no mugs. They've spent a lot of money, and they'll be looking at the table and thinking to themselves, right, now's our chance to push on, because no matter what you say, the table is all over the place at the minute. People are beating people, and that's why it doesn't give you any. What's that? That doesn't give you any right to beat anyone in the Premier League. I don't agree with the people saying, "Oh, we should be going to Everton looking for a win." You ain't got no right to win. You've got to fight for the win, and that's what we didn't do yesterday. We did not fight. There is no fight in our team. We looked disinterested at times. We didn't look up for it. It was an early kick-off. I don't know whether that affects them. I don't know. You'll have to ask professional football players. But I got there. The rest of the fans got there. But the team looked like they were still in a hotel. So what does it mean? It's a cause for concern. Most definitely, because, as I said, a good start is now decided to slip away from us. We've got Sheffield United next week, who win games by battling, and we haven't got a battler within our midst. I'd drop Fornells. I'd probably keep Anderson in to give him another chance to go at it, because played very well against the Norwich team a few weeks ago that was in decent form. And he does battle. No matter what you think, he does battle. He just doesn't know what he's doing when he's going forward. But I'd start to look at other players. We're missing Antonio desperately. But I'd start to give other people, give Wilshere a start. Fornells don't get in the team for me. Maybe Snoddy, even just for a bit of grit and determination. He's got a left peg like no other I've seen. Snoddy crossing the ball as well. He's brilliant. He's a grafter. He's not got the pace he used to have, but he's a grafter. He's a battler. And he's going to give everything he's got. And I think at the moment, when you're starting to, you see these results start to slip away from him, because since the cup game, a good start has turned into poor form. We're in poor form now. But you need someone to pick you up and graft. And Sheffield United next week is going to be a tough game, and it needs some bollocks, and that's what we're lacking a little bit, is some bollocks, some steel, and I think Snoddy will give you that. If we don't get a result this week, it's going to turn into a catastrophe. People saying that we're melting, we're breaking down after a couple of wins. It's the nature of the wins. It's the nature that we're not creating enough chances to win these games. Even in a normal circumstance, if Everton hadn't have attacked at all, we'd have drew 0-0, because it was that bad. We had I remember one very good chance right at the end, and it could have bit Everton in the arse, to be honest with you. They wasn't fortunate that it didn't. They was fortunate that we was unfortunate that it didn't. Ogbonna had one sort of saved on the line from a corner. It looked like it was going to, for all the world, it was going to be a goal, but he never squeezed it in. But that was the only opportunity I remember the whole game. The only one. And if we turn up like that against Sheffield United on Saturday at home, we're going to end up getting turned over. And that's the worrying thing for me. We're not creating enough opportunities. Pellegrini needs to sort it out. At times I like Pellegrini. I think he's got a brilliant project going on, but his management skills do make me question him at times. Does he actually has he actually got the tools in the locker to dig it deep and change it up and make sure we're winning these games? And sometimes I don't think he has. It's all very well saying he done it in Spain. Spain's a different game. It's all very well saying he done it with Man United. Manchester City. Manchester City is a different kettle of fish. You know, you've got players there that know how to play. Some of our players need a little bit of guiding, so he needs to show a little bit more. And you know, if we're all going to go up to Liverpool early on a Saturday, then you need to turn up as well. Alright guys, thanks for watching. One thing left to say, come on you irons.